Our planet's invisible shield is flickering. This is not the plot of a science fiction movie, though it feels like one. The ground beneath our feet, the very magnetic field that cradles our civilization, is showing signs of a monumental shift. And this real-world mystery leads us to a shocking possibility. What if we are not the only ones watching this change happen? Today, we connect the dots between Earth's churning core and the enigmatic lights in our skies. By the end, you will see our world not as a static rock, but as a living, breathing entity with secrets that could rewrite our place in the cosmos. We will explore why compasses might soon point south and why unidentified objects seem drawn to our planet's most unstable zones. What ancient memories might be buried in our myths, waiting for this moment to be understood? The stage is set for a story that blends hard science with profound mystery. Are you ready to question everything you thought was solid? Think of the air around you not as empty space, but as a river of invisible lines. These lines flow from deep within the planet, arching out into space before curving back to the other side. This is our magnetic field. It is not a solid object, but a dynamic force field, a living breath of our planet. The source of this incredible power lies far beneath your feet, in a place no human will ever see. Earth's outer core is a spinning ocean of molten iron and nickel, heated to temperatures rivaling the surface of the sun. This churning, electrically conductive fluid acts like a colossal dynamo. As the planet rotates, this molten metal swirls and twists, generating powerful electric currents. And where you have moving electric charges, you create a magnetic field. It is a self-sustaining engine that has been running for billions of years. For a simple mental picture, you can imagine a giant, slightly tilted bar magnet buried at Earth's center. The magnetic North Pole is not the same as the geographic North Pole where the axis spins, but it is close enough for our compasses to find it. This field does far more than just point a needle. It is our planet's primary defense shield. From the sun, a constant stream of charged particles called the solar wind screams toward us at 1,000,000 miles per hour. When these particles slam into our magnetic field, they are deflected around the planet like water flowing around a stone in a stream. Without this shield, that relentless radiation would slowly strip away our atmosphere, much like what scientists believe happened to Mars. It would bombard the surface, making life as we know it impossible. This magnetic cocoon is why we are here, but its influence is even more intimate. Creatures across the animal kingdom are tuned into its subtle vibrations. Sea turtles embarking on their epic ocean migrations, monarch butterflies traveling thousands of miles, and even homing pigeons all possess a biological compass, a built-in ability to sense these magnetic lines. They navigate the globe using a map written in forces we cannot see. For us, this invisible grid became the foundation of exploration. For centuries, the compass was the ultimate tool, guiding ships across trackless oceans. Today, our entire technological world depends on it. Our power grids, satellite communications, and the GPS in your phone are all vulnerable to violent space weather. It is the magnetic field that absorbs the worst of those solar storms, preventing them from frying our global network and plunging civilization into a dark age. So this field is not just a scientific curiosity. It is the silent guardian of our atmosphere, the ancient guide for life on Earth, and the fragile protector of our modern world. And right now, that guardian is behaving very strangely. This silent guardian does not stand perfectly still. It breathes, it shifts, and sometimes it turns itself completely upside down. This is a geomagnetic reversal, a period where the planet's magnetic north and south poles swap places. The compass that once pointed north would, over time, swing to point south. It sounds like a cataclysmic event from a disaster film, but in geological terms, it is a routine part of our planet's long life. Earth's magnetic field has flipped hundreds of times over the last few billion years. The last time it completed a full reversal was roughly 780,000 years ago, a period scientists call the Bruns Matayama reversal. Since then, the field has weakened, strengthened, and even attempted to flip again only to snap back, but it has not fully committed to a swap. So how do we know this happens? Our planet keeps a diary written not in words but in stone. When volcanic lava erupts and flows, it is superheated and contains tiny mineral grains like magnetite that act like microscopic compass needles. As the lava cools and solidifies into rock, those magnetic minerals freeze in place, permanently aligning themselves with the direction of Earth's magnetic field at that exact moment in time. It is a fossilized record of the field's orientation, locked away for millions of years. The seafloor adds another layer to this story. At mid-ocean ridges, new crust is constantly being formed as magma wells up from below. As this new material cools and spreads away from the ridge, it also records the magnetic field's direction. The result is a stunning visual pattern on the ocean floor, a symmetrical striped barcode of normal and reversed magnetism stretching away from the ridge on either side. This seafloor spreading tape recorder provides a clear, continuous timeline of our magnetic field's restless history. These rock records tell us the flips are not instantaneous. They are not like flipping a light switch. The process of a full reversal is thought to take anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 years. During this long transition, the magnetic field becomes complex and messy. Instead of a clean, two-pole bar magnet, the field can develop multiple north and south poles scattered around the globe. It weakens dramatically, perhaps to only 10% of its normal strength. Imagine our protective shield growing thin and full of holes. For a world that did not rely on satellites and microchips, this might have been a manageable, if dramatic, change. But for our modern, electrically dependent civilization, a weakened field opens a door to vulnerabilities we are only beginning to understand. The evidence for this change is no longer buried in ancient rock. It is happening right now in real time, and our instruments are tracking every tremor. The first and most dramatic clue is the Great Magnetic Wander. For most of recorded history, the magnetic North Pole held a relatively steady position in the Canadian Arctic, but around the turn of the 19th century, it began to move. Slowly at first, then with gathering speed. Over the last few decades, this movement has become a sprint. The pole is now racing across the Arctic Ocean towards Siberia at a pace of over 30 miles per year. That is a significant shift on a human timescale, a drift so fast that scientists have had to update the World Magnetic Model, the global standard for navigation, more frequently than ever before just to keep our maps accurate. Compasses are literally losing their way. This wandering pole is accompanied by a more concerning trend, a general weakening of the entire magnetic shield. Over the past 150 years, the overall strength of Earth's magnetic field has decreased by about 10%. While that number might sound small in the context of a planetary system, it is a substantial and rapid drop. The most glaring symptom of this weakness is a vast, growing dent in our magnetic armor over the South Atlantic. Scientists call it the South Atlantic anomaly. Here, the field is so weak that the inner Van Allen radiation belt, a zone of trapped energetic particles, dips unusually close to Earth's surface. This creates a hazardous zone for technology. Satellites and spacecraft passing through this region experience increased radiation, leading to frequent glitches, temporary malfunctions, and even permanent damage to their sensitive electronics. The International Space Station, for instance, takes extra shielding when it flies through this area. Think of it as a slow leak in a pressurized cabin, a spot where the protective hull is thinning, letting in more of the harsh environment of space. These are not separate, random events. To geophysicists, they form a coherent and concerning pattern. The rapid polar motion, the global field weakening, and the development of a major regional anomaly are precisely the kinds of behaviors seen in computer simulations and found in the rock record just prior to a geomagnetic reversal. It is as if the planet's internal dynamo is becoming unstable, its orderly flow beginning to churn into chaos. The two main magnetic poles are not just moving, they appear to be preparing for a tug of war, with other, smaller magnetic patches growing in strength and complicating the global picture. We are likely witnessing the very early, opening stages of a process that will unfold over centuries. This does not mean your compass will spin wildly tomorrow. But it does mean the invisible force that has guided life and civilization for millennia is entering a state of profound transformation. And if our shield is flickering, who or what might be taking a closer look at the light? This magnetic instability would rewrite the rules of our daily world in ways both beautiful and terrifying. The most immediate and symbolic change would be the silent rebellion of the compass needle. Over decades, as the poles continued their slow-motion swap, that trusted red pointer would no longer seek the Arctic. It would drift, waver, and finally settle, pointing toward Antarctica. Every map, every navigation app, every fundamental sense of direction ingrained in our culture would need to be mentally flipped. North would become south, not on the globe itself, but on the magnetic map we have used to chart our course for 1,000 years. The confusion would extend far beyond human tools. The animal kingdom, tuned to Earth's magnetic whispers, would face a silent crisis. Imagine flocks of migratory birds, like Arctic terns, embarking on their epic pole-to-pole journey, taking a wrong turn into an empty ocean because their internal compass was reading a corrupted map. Picture the haunting songs of whales, creatures that navigate the deep abyss by following magnetic highways on the seafloor, leading pods into shallow, perilous waters. Sea turtles might crawl ashore on unfamiliar beaches, their ancient nesting instinct scrambled by the shifting fields. This planetary guidance system, perfected over eons, would broadcast static, leaving Earth's most vulnerable travelers lost. In the sky, the spectacle of the auroras would break free from their polar cages. These dancing lights, caused by solar particles spiraling down magnetic field lines, would paint the heavens over cities and latitudes that have never seen them. The shimmering green curtains of the aurora borealis could glow over Rome, while the southern lights might dazzle observers in Brazil. While breathtaking, this beauty would be a direct symptom of a weakened shield, a sign that more energetic particles were penetrating deeper into our atmosphere. The true fragility of our civilization, however, would be exposed not on the ground but in orbit and across our power grids. Our fleet of satellites, from the one providing your GPS signal to those monitoring weather and enabling global communications, would be sitting ducks. Bathed in heightened radiation without the full strength of the magnetic field to deflect it, their delicate electronics would fry. One by one, they would begin to fail. The precision of GPS would degrade, then vanish, crippling everything from aviation and shipping to the location services on your phone. Global communications would suffer blackouts. Our ability to track storms and predict weather would be blinded, reverting to a far more uncertain age. Down here on the surface, the danger would become personal. For airline crews and frequent flyers on polar routes, radiation exposure would increase significantly, raising health risks with every long-haul journey. Astronauts would face even greater peril, requiring vastly enhanced shielding for any mission beyond our atmosphere. And then there are the power grids, the arteries of modern life. A major solar storm, like the Carrington event of 1859, striking during a period of weak magnetic defense, would not just cause spectacular auroras. It would induce colossal electrical currents in our long-distance power lines. Transformers would explode like bombs, and continent-wide blackouts could last for months or even years. We are not talking about a temporary inconvenience, but a cascading technological collapse that would reset the clock on human progress. This is the stark reality of a fading magnetic field, a world where our greatest achievements become our deepest vulnerabilities. And as our planetary shield flickers, one cannot help but wonder if other eyes, watching from a distance, see this not as a catastrophe, but as an opportunity. The flickering of our magnetic shield reaches far deeper than our technology. Its long-term whispers may be etched into the very rock and climate of our world, raising a haunting planetary question. Could a prolonged magnetic weakness begin to unravel the delicate conditions that make Earth habitable? To find an answer, we look to our desolate neighbor, Mars. The red planet is a cautionary tale. Scientists believe Mars once possessed a global magnetic field and a thicker, warmer atmosphere, possibly even flowing water. But billions of years ago, its internal dynamo shut down. Its magnetic shield vanished. Stripped of that protection, the solar wind relentlessly scoured away its atmosphere over eons, leaving the cold, barren desert we see today. This process, called atmospheric sputtering, is a constant, quiet theft. While Earth's gravity is stronger and our atmosphere more massive, a magnetic field weakened for thousands of years during a reversal could theoretically accelerate a similar, though much slower, loss. It would be a gradual leak, not an explosive rupture, but over geological time. Even a small change in atmospheric pressure or composition could subtly reshape climates and ecosystems. The instability might not be confined to the skies above. The same turbulent motions in the molten outer core that disrupt our magnetic field also exert immense physical forces on the planet's rigid mantle and crust above it. Some geophysicists propose a provocative theory. They suggest that the shifting weight and flow of material in the core during a magnetic reversal could alter the stresses on the tectonic plates. This could potentially trigger a period of increased volcanic activity and more frequent, powerful earthquakes. Imagine the planet's internal engine not just stuttering but lurching, sending powerful shudders through its very skeleton. There is tantalizing, though debated, evidence in the rock record. In several locations, layers of ancient lava flows show a startling coincidence, periods of intense volcanic activity that appear to align closely in time with past magnetic reversals. It is as if the planet, in the throes of a magnetic reconfiguration, also vents its internal pressure through its crust. While the direct causal link is not yet proven, the correlation invites a profound and unsettling possibility that a magnetic flip could literally reshape the continents and ignite the ring of fire. This leads to the ultimate, sobering question written in stone and bone. Do these planetary upheavals leave a mark on life itself? Scientists have long scrutinized the fossil record, searching for a pattern that ties geomagnetic reversals to the great mass extinction events like the demise of the dinosaurs. The results are complex and fiercely debated. There is no clear one-to-one correlation. Many reversals have occurred without any notable spike in extinctions. However, some researchers point to a subtler, more insidious threat. During a prolonged reversal, with the magnetic field at a fraction of its strength, the surface of the Earth would be bathed in higher levels of cosmic and solar radiation. This increased radiation could cause genetic mutations, raise cancer rates in complex organisms, and apply a steady, evolutionary pressure on all living things. It might not be a sudden, catastrophic kill switch, but a slow, grinding filter that alters the course of life over millennia, potentially explaining certain evolutionary bottlenecks or bursts of adaptation found in the deep past. The story, then, is not of instant doom, but of a planet undergoing a fundamental reset. Its protective bubble grows thin, its internal engine groans, and the gentle, guiding field that life evolved with dissolves into chaos. In this window of planetary vulnerability, with our world literally broadcasting its instability into space, one has to ask who might be listening. At the heart of this planetary drama lies a mystery we have never directly observed. The engine of our magnetic field, the geodynamo, is a cauldron of chaos. Imagine trying to predict the exact swirl of cream in a steaming cup of coffee. but the cup is the size of a planet. Its contents are molten metal, and it has been spinning for billions of years. This is the scale of the puzzle. We know the basic ingredients: a rotating sphere of superheated liquid iron and nickel. The motion of this electrically conductive fluid, stirred by Earth's rotation and the heat rising from the solid inner core, generates the magnetic field through a process called induction. But the precise recipe for a magnetic reversal remains one of geophysics' greatest unsolved questions. The system is inherently turbulent and nonlinear, meaning tiny fluctuations can cascade into planet-altering events. Think of it like trying to forecast which way a tornado will twist, based only on the temperature of the air a week before it forms. Our supercomputer models can simulate the dynamo, and they produce fields that look remarkably like Earth's, complete with occasional flips. But these digital experiments reveal a terrifying sensitivity. A slight variation in the heat flow escaping from the inner core, a subtle shift in the way the mantle above conducts that heat, or even a change in the planet's rotation could send the entire system into a prolonged state of confusion. One leading theory suggests that these reversals are not triggered by a single cataclysm, but by the dynamo's own internal chaos reaching a tipping point. Patches of reversed magnetic polarity might spontaneously form at the boundary between the core and the mantle. Normally, the dominant flow of molten iron would suppress these rebellious patches. But if they grow numerous enough or align in just the right way, they could begin to gang up on the main field, eventually overwhelming it and forcing a global swap. It is a magnetic civil war fought in a sea of fire. Could external forces play a role? Some researchers point to gravitational tugs from other celestial bodies. The rhythmic pull of the moon and sun create tides not just in our oceans, but in the solid Earth and perhaps even in the sloshing outer core itself. While these forces are small, in a system perpetually on the edge of instability, they might provide the final nudge. Others look to the mantle, the thick, rocky layer above the core. As giant slabs of tectonic plates sink back into the mantle over millions of years, they could alter the pattern of heat escaping from the core, like placing a cold spoon in a pot of soup. This could create cold spots on the core mantle boundary, disrupting the flow of iron and seeding magnetic anomalies. The sobering truth is that our models are still incomplete. We have a compelling sketch of the process, but we lack the fine details. We cannot see the core directly. We can only listen to its magnetic echoes and feel its tremors through earthquakes. So while we recognize the symptoms of instability, we cannot yet predict the diagnosis with certainty. This leaves us in a profound position of wonder, watching our planet's hidden heart prepare for a change we understand in theory, but have never witnessed in reality. And if this hidden process is so complex, so sensitive to subtle influences, what other forces from beyond our world might be paying it the closest attention? Our planet's hidden instability has always sparked the human imagination. Long before we understood the magnetic field's slow dance, another, more terrifying idea took root: the legend of the catastrophic pole shift. This theory suggests that the entire outer shell of the Earth, the crust, can suddenly slip over the molten mantle beneath it. In this scenario, the geographic poles themselves, the very axis of rotation, would physically relocate across the globe in a matter of hours or days. Imagine the world spinning out of control, continents lurching thousands of miles as the Arctic ice cap suddenly found itself in the tropics. Such an event would unleash tsunamis of unimaginable scale, burying coastlines and entire civilizations under miles of water in a single violent day. This dramatic concept, popularized in the mid-20th century by scholars like Charles Hapgood, was used to explain some of humanity's most persistent mysteries. Proponents point to ancient flood myths found in cultures from Mesopotamia to the Americas, stories of a great deluge sent by the gods. They look to the frozen mammoths of Siberia, creatures discovered with tropical plants still in their stomachs, seemingly flash frozen in an instant. For many, this theory provided a compelling, physical explanation for the lost city of Atlantis, a sophisticated culture supposedly swallowed by the sea in one terrible night. It is a narrative of divine punishment and forgotten worlds, written not in magnetism but in stone and ice. The scientific reality, however, paints a very different, though no less profound, picture. Modern geology finds no evidence that the solid crust can detach and slide freely over the mantle in such a rapid, single event. The forces required are beyond any known mechanism. The tectonic plates do move, but at the speed your fingernails grow, not in a catastrophic lurch. The accepted process of geomagnetic reversal, which we have been exploring, is a change in Earth's magnetic field, not its physical axis. Your compass would spin, but the stars would remain fixed in the sky. The North Star, Polaris, would still mark the north rotational pole. The mammoth's fate is more likely explained by sudden, local climate shifts or by becoming trapped in freezing mud. The ancient flood stories could be cultural memories of very real but regional post-ice age sea level rise. So where do these powerful ideas diverge? The key distinction is between the geographic poles, the points where the planet spins, and the magnetic poles, the points a compass seeks. A geomagnetic reversal is a confirmed, recurring event in Earth's deep history, a flip in our invisible shield driven by the churning core. A catastrophic geographic pole shift is a dramatic speculation, a physical reorientation of the planet itself for which there is no geological proof. Yet the persistence of the myth is telling. It reveals a deep human intuition, a sense that our world is not eternally stable. Our ancestors, witnessing strange seashells on mountaintops or hearing tales of lands that vanished, were grappling with real evidence of a dynamic planet. They simply attributed the cause to a more immediate, more violent kind of shift. In a way, the magnetic reversal theory fulfills the same narrative role, but with a scientific foundation. It is the modern version of the pole shift myth, a slow-motion cataclysm that still reshapes the world and challenges civilizations just over millennia instead of a day. This blending of fact and fringe leaves us with a haunting question. If our solid ground is stable, but our protective field is not, what other unseen forces might be recording these cycles of planetary change and waiting for the next one to begin? The geological record holds more than just a predictable pattern of flips. It contains sudden, violent stutters that defy our models. One of the most intriguing is the Lachamp excursion, named for the lava flows in France where it was first identified. Roughly 41,000 years ago, Earth's magnetic field did not just weaken on its way to a full reversal. It partially flipped, with the poles wandering dramatically for only about 1,000 years before snapping back to their original orientation. It was a planetary hiccup, a brief but intense magnetic identity crisis. This event alone is a fascinating puzzle, but the evidence locked in ancient ice and wood adds a far more alarming dimension. Scientists drilling deep into Greenland and Antarctic ice cores have found a startling signature from this exact time period. Trapped within the layers of ice that fell as snow 41,000 years ago are dramatic spikes in radioactive isotopes like beryllium-10 and carbon-14. These isotopes are not common on Earth's surface. They are created when powerful cosmic rays, high-energy particles from deep space, slam into our atmosphere. Normally, our strong magnetic field deflects most of these rays, shielding us from their effects. But the ice core data reveals a flood of these isotopes, a clear signal that for those centuries, Earth's protective shield was down to almost nothing. The cosmic rays were raining in unimpeded. This same radioactive spike is mirrored in the growth rings of ancient trees from that era, creating a global timestamp of atmospheric chaos. The implications are staggering. For a short time, our planet was nearly defenseless, its inhabitants bathed in radiation levels unseen in modern history. This was not a slow, millennia-long transition. The Lachamp excursion was a rapid, severe collapse and recovery. standard models of the geodynamo struggle to explain such a swift and dramatic event. The core's churning is a slow, ponderous process like turning a massive ship. What could cause its magnetic field to lurch so violently and then correct itself so quickly? The question pulls our gaze away from the planet's interior and upward into the vastness of space. Could an external shock have delivered a blow to Earth's system? A nearby supernova explosion could have bathed our solar system in radiation, but the isotopic signature does not perfectly match that scenario. A massive solar storm, a hyper-eruption from our own sun far beyond anything in recorded history, could have bombarded our magnetosphere, potentially compressing it and triggering internal instability. Yet the duration of the event, 1,000 years of weakened field, suggests something more than a single solar blast. It points to a prolonged disturbance, a period where the dynamo itself was knocked off balance. The Lachamp excursion stands as a stark warning in the ice, proof that our magnetic shield is not just prone to slow reversal, but to sudden, catastrophic failure. If something from beyond our world could have tipped the scales once, what is to say it could not happen again, especially as our field enters another period of vulnerability? The frozen record of the Lachamp event proves our shield can fail with shocking speed. This leaves us staring into a profound and unsettling gap in our understanding. While science grapples with the chaos of the core, another field of study has been documenting strange anomalies in the skies above these very zones of instability. For decades, reports of unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP, were relegated to the fringes of serious discussion. That era is over. In recent years, a remarkable shift has occurred, not on the internet but in the halls of government. The United States Department of Defense has declassified and released videos captured by its most advanced fighter jets. These videos show objects with no visible means of propulsion, performing maneuvers that defy our known laws of physics, accelerating instantaneously, making 90-degree turns at hypersonic speeds, and operating with impunity in restricted military airspace. The testimony comes not from amateur enthusiasts, but from highly trained naval aviators, individuals with impeccable credentials who risked their careers to speak on the record. They describe objects that appeared on their radar, were tracked by multiple sensor systems, and were visually confirmed, objects they pursued but could not intercept. A landmark report from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence has officially acknowledged these encounters, stating they represent a genuine mystery and pose a potential threat to national security. The question is no longer if these things are real, they are. The question is what they are, so let us for a moment suspend our disbelief and follow the evidence where it might lead. If even a small fraction of these UAP sightings represent technology of non-human origin, a possibility now openly discussed by former intelligence officials and members of Congress, then we must ask a fundamental question. What is their interest in our planet? Earth, from a cosmic perspective, might seem unremarkable, a rocky world orbiting a middle-aged star. But we possess something incredibly rare, perhaps even unique in this sector of the galaxy, a massive, molten, and violently dynamic metallic core. This churning engine does more than generate a magnetic field. It makes Earth geologically alive. It drives plate tectonics, which recycle minerals and regulate our climate over eons. It creates the conditions for a persistent, strong magnetic shield. Think of it as a planetary-scale power plant, a source of immense geothermal and electromagnetic energy. If you were an advanced civilization capable of crossing the interstellar void, what would you value? Resources are plentiful in space, asteroids are full of metals, and gas giants have vast energy reserves. But a living, breathing planetary core with a complex, fluctuating magnetic field, that is a different kind of treasure. It could be a navigational beacon, a source of power we cannot yet conceive, or a natural laboratory of plasma physics on a scale impossible to recreate. The consistent reports of UAP activity around nuclear facilities and military installations hint at a fascination with our own primitive mastery of energy. But what if their deeper interest is not in our reactors, but in the planet's own, far more powerful reactor deep beneath our feet? The flickering of our magnetic shield might not be a silent event. It could be a brilliant flare on the cosmic dashboard, signaling that Earth's great engine is entering a new and interesting phase. The connection between strange lights and scrambled electronics is not a new idea. It is a pattern etched into decades of military reports and civilian encounters. One of the most chilling examples comes from the Cold War, from a place designed to be the most secure on Earth. In March of 1967, at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, a series of events unfolded that still baffle investigators. Security personnel reported seeing strange, glowing objects maneuvering silently over the launch facilities. These were not vague lights in the distance, they were structured craft observed by multiple airmen. Simultaneously, in the underground launch control centers, a different kind of alarm sounded. One by one, intercontinental ballistic missiles, Minuteman missiles armed and ready for war, began dropping offline. Their guidance systems went dead. From a state of full alert, these weapons were rendered inert, as if someone had flipped a master switch. Technicians scrambled but found no technical fault, no mechanical failure. The missiles had been disabled by an external influence, an electromagnetic pulse so precise it targeted only the weapons, not the base's other systems. When the unidentified objects departed, the missiles, just as mysteriously, came back online. The official explanation pointed to a rare electrical surge, but the men on duty that night knew what they saw, a direct demonstration of power over our most terrifying technology. This theme of electromagnetic interference repeats itself, often in the most unexpected places. 13 years later, in December of 1980, something extraordinary happened in Rendlesham Forest, England, adjacent to 2 NATO airbases. Over 3 nights, multiple United States Air Force security personnel witnessed a strange, triangular craft with colored lights land in the woods. They approached on foot. One officer, Sergeant Jim Peniston, claimed to have touched the craft's hieroglyphic-like surface. As they investigated, their military radios filled with static and their powerful flashlights dimmed. Later, radiation surveys of the alleged landing site revealed beta-gamma readings significantly higher than the background level. Even more telling, the Deputy Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, reported that his compass needle spun wildly when held near the indentations in the ground where the object had been. Here, in a single event, we have the full suite: visual contact, physical trace evidence, radiation spikes, and a direct disturbance of the local magnetic field. The objects were not just seen, they were felt, measured, and recorded as an environmental anomaly. These are not isolated anecdotes. From the famous 1952 Washington, D.C. flyover that jammed radar, to countless pilot reports of instrument failure during close encounters, the correlation is undeniable. The common thread is clear: these phenomena, whatever their origin, exhibit a profound interaction with electromagnetic energy. They generate fields that disrupt our technology, from simple compasses to nuclear missiles. But this interference might be a side effect, not the primary function. Think of a submarine using sonar. The pings disrupt the quiet of the ocean, but the disruption is incidental to the submarine's mission of mapping or navigation. If these objects are utilizing or even monitoring Earth's own magnetic field, their presence could naturally cause local distortions, just as a large ship passing by will disturb the water around it. The Rendlesham compass didn't spin because the object wanted to confuse the airmen. It spun because the object itself was a source of or a manipulator of intense magnetic forces. This paints a very different picture. Instead of malicious tampering, we might be witnessing a form of natural interference, like a whale accidentally breaking a fishing net simply by moving through it. The objects may be drawn to areas of magnetic flux or geological fault lines, places where Earth's energy is already in flux, perhaps to refuel, to navigate, or to take measurements. Our most advanced weapons and sensors sitting atop these energetic zones become unintentional witnesses, their systems glitching in the presence of a technology that operates on principles we do not yet understand. So the question shifts from why are they disabling our missiles to what are they doing that incidentally disables our missiles. The answer may lie not in our silos, but in the ground beneath them. This electromagnetic interference may be a clue to a purpose far grander than mere observation. If we follow the evidence to its most speculative edge, a startling possibility emerges. What if these unidentified objects are not just visitors but planetary engineers? The concept is known as stellar or planetary engineering, the idea that a civilization sufficiently advanced could modify celestial bodies on a massive scale. For a species that has mastered interstellar travel, manipulating the forces of a planet might be a logical next step, not out of malice but out of necessity or curiosity. Earth, with its turbulent, iron-rich core and dynamic magnetic field, could represent a resource of immense value, a natural power plant of cosmic proportions. Imagine a technology that could tap into the geothermal energy flowing from our planet's molten heart, or harness the electromagnetic currents generated by the spinning core itself. The energy output would dwarf anything humanity has ever produced, a clean, sustainable source of power on a planetary scale. Such a civilization might place monitoring stations or even extraction devices at key points of magnetic and geological flux, precisely the places where UAP sightings and electromagnetic anomalies are most frequently reported. Our technology glitches not because it is being attacked, but because it is operating in the energetic wake of something much larger at work. The goal might not be energy alone, but planetary stewardship. A magnetic field is the ultimate life support system. Without it, a world loses its atmosphere and its potential for complex life. An advanced species interested in biodiversity, or perhaps in cultivating a planet for its own long-term use, would have a vital interest in maintaining that shield. Our current magnetic instability could be a red alert on their monitors. Their appearances might coincide with efforts to measure the field's decay, to inject stabilizing energy into the core's dynamo, or to test methods of reinforcing our protective bubble. In this scenario, they are not invaders but gardeners tending to a fragile biosphere they see as valuable. The most profound possibility is terraforming. If they can engineer a planet's core, they can control its climate, its atmosphere, and its very habitability over geological time. The slow, mysterious processes we attribute to nature, like magnetic reversals or periods of intense volcanism, could, in theory, be influenced or even initiated by external technology. The Lachamp excursion, that sudden magnetic collapse 41,000 years ago, takes on a new light. Was it a natural hiccup, or could it have been a test, an adjustment, or an accident during an attempt to interface with Earth's geodynamo? The radioactive spikes in the ice would be the expected fallout of a temporarily disabled shield. This theory reframes our entire history. Ancient myths of gods shaping the world, of great floods and fires from the sky, might be fragmented memories of such engineering projects witnessed by early humans. The idea is humbling. It suggests we are living on a planet that may already be part of a larger, maintained system. Our core's restless shifts are not just geology, they are the vital signs of a living world being watched and perhaps occasionally tended to by intelligences for whom planetary management is a science. This transforms the mystery from a question of visitation into one of cosmic ecology. Are we the unaware inhabitants of a garden we did not plant, protected by a shield we do not fully control? These ancient stories of planetary chaos echo across every continent, not as isolated folklore, but as a shared human memory. From the Babylonian epic of Gilgamesh to the biblical tale of Noah, from the Hindu scriptures of Manu to the flood myths of the indigenous peoples of the Americas, the narrative is strikingly consistent. A great deluge sent by the gods wipes the slate of civilization clean, but the cataclysms are not limited to water. Norse mythology speaks of Ragnarok, a fiery end where the world serpent writhes and the sky itself burns. The Popol Vuh of the Maya describes a time when the gods destroyed an early race of humans with a resinous fire from the heavens. What if these are not mere metaphors for local disasters, but deeply encoded recollections of a global event, a time when the very sky seemed to fall? The axis of the world shifting is a recurring theme. In ancient Egyptian texts, there are references to a time when the sun rose in the west and set in the east. The Chinese classic, the Huainanzi, speaks of a remote age when the pillars of heaven were broken and the land was tilted. These are not descriptions of a magnetic reversal, which is invisible, but of a perceived shift in the heavens, a change in the relationship between the earth and the stars. Could this be the cultural imprint of a rapid geomagnetic excursion like the Lashump event, where a weakened magnetosphere allowed cosmic rays and auroras to paint apocalyptic visions across the entire sky, making it appear as if the cosmic order had been upended? This is where the ancient astronaut theory, popularized by authors like Erich von Däniken, inserts a provocative twist. Von Däniken and others have long argued that the gods of antiquity were not supernatural beings but advanced extraterrestrial visitors. They point to ancient art depicting figures in what look like spacesuits, to massive stone constructions like the pyramids whose engineering seems inexplicable for their time, and to texts that describe flying chariots and weapons of unimaginable power. The theory proposes that these visitors interacted with early humans, perhaps even genetically tinkering with our ancestors, and that our myths are the confused retellings of those encounters. When we layer this idea onto the pole shift narrative, the story deepens. Could tales of gods remaking the world after a flood or a fire be memories of an intervention? Perhaps a past magnetic collapse triggered by natural forces or even by some colossal experiment threatened all life on Earth. The gods, in their advanced craft, might have taken action to stabilize the planet's core, to reignite the magnetic dynamo, or to shield the survivors from the worst of the radiation. The Great Flood, then, might not have been a punishment, but a catastrophic side effect of their planetary engineering, a tidal wave caused by a crustal adjustment as they worked on the core. The fires from heaven could have been the visible effect of their energy tools or the result of a compromised atmosphere. This interpretation reframes mythology as a form of prehistoric journalism. Early humans, lacking the scientific vocabulary, would have described a starship's engine flare as a chariot of fire. They would have perceived a terraforming device stabilizing tectonic plates as a god setting the mountains firm. A period of intense auroral activity during a magnetic low would have been recorded as the sky serpent or the dancing spirits of the dead. The work of von Däniken is often criticized by mainstream academics for its selective use of evidence and its leaps of logic, and these criticisms are valid. Yet, the theory's enduring power lies in its attempt to answer a very human question. Why do cultures separated by oceans and millennia tell the same fundamental story of destruction and renewal? Science offers the mechanism of a geomagnetic reversal with its attendant chaos. The ancient astronaut hypothesis offers a potential actor, a who behind the what. Whether one views it as fringe speculation or a lost chapter of history, it forces us to consider a profound possibility. Our oldest stories may not be about gods at all, but about the day the sky failed and the strangers who came to fix it. The link between strange lights and restless ground is more than a coincidence of folklore. Modern data, when mapped, reveals a startling overlap. If you take a global chart of UAP sighting reports compiled by both civilian researchers and military databases, and lay it over a map of Earth's tectonic plate boundaries and active volcanic zones, the correlation is difficult to ignore. Dense clusters of sightings appear along the Pacific Ring of Fire, that horseshoe-shaped belt of volcanoes and earthquakes encircling the Pacific Ocean. They are reported near the mid-Atlantic ridge, where new crust is born from the mantle. They are frequent over the geologically unstable landscapes of the American Southwest and the fault-riven mountains of the Himalayas. These are not random dots on a map. They trace the seams of our planet. The connection extends to the skies over oceans, where pilots report objects descending into or emerging from the water near known underwater volcanic vents and tectonic fractures. What draws them to these places? One compelling answer is energy. Geological hotspots are windows into Earth's interior, places where immense geothermal and electromagnetic energy escapes. The friction of tectonic plates grinding past each other generates powerful piezoelectric charges, essentially creating massive natural batteries in the crust. Volcanic activity releases not just heat and lava, but also bursts of ionized particles and magnetic disturbances. To a sensor system attuned to such emissions, these zones would glow like beacons on a dark landscape. If an external intelligence is studying Earth's core dynamics, these are the natural monitoring stations, the places where the planet's vital signs are most easily read. The South Atlantic anomaly presents the most intriguing case. This vast region of a weakened magnetic field, a known hazard to our satellites, also shows a curious uptick in high-quality UAP reports from naval personnel and commercial shipping routes. It is as if something is drawn to this specific flaw in our armor, perhaps to observe the increased influx of solar radiation, to measure the field's minimum strength, or to utilize the altered magnetic conditions for its own purposes. The data is not perfect, of course. Sighting reports are influenced by population density, cultural factors, and military activity, but the persistent signal within the noise points toward a pattern that transcends human habitation. These objects are seen where Earth is most alive, most unstable, and most energetically expressive. This suggests a mission profile far beyond mere curiosity about human cities or aircraft. It hints at a long-term planetary-scale survey. Think of a team of geologists camped around an active volcano, planting sensors to measure tremors, gas emissions, and thermal flow. Their presence is tied to the mountain's activity, not to the nearby village. In a similar way, these phenomena might be deploying or checking instruments at Earth's own points of activity. They could be measuring strain along a fault line, sampling the chemical soup from a volcanic plume, or charting the fluctuations in the magnetic field's weakest point. The occasional close encounter with a human vehicle might be an accidental intersection, like a biologist's tracking drone startling a hiker in a remote forest. The hiker sees a strange machine, but its true purpose is to study the ecosystem, not the person. So we are left with a map that tells a story. The lights in our skies are not scattered randomly. They congregate where our planet groans, where its fiery blood nears the surface, and where its magnetic shield grows thin. This is not a pattern of invasion, but one of intense, focused observation. The question then becomes not just what they are, but what they are waiting for, or what they know is coming next from the depths below. The map of strange lights tracing our planet leads our gaze upward from the trembling ground to the silent ocean of space. In the vast quiet between the stars, a different kind of signal once pierced the darkness, a signal that remains one of astronomy's greatest unsolved mysteries. In August of 1977, a radio telescope at Ohio State University known as the Big Ear was engaged in a routine search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It was scanning a patch of sky in the constellation Sagittarius when its printout recorder suddenly registered a burst of data so powerful and so perfect that the astronomer reviewing the data, Jerry Amon, circled the sequence on the paper and wrote a single, emphatic word beside it: "Wow." The WOW signal, as it became known, was a 72-second blast of intense, narrowband radio waves. It matched precisely the profile of a signal scientists predicted an artificial interstellar transmission would have. It came from a region of space with no known stars or planets, and then it vanished. Despite decades of follow-up observations, it was never heard again. It was a cosmic shout into the void, a one-word postcard from the unknown. For decades, the assumption has been that if it was a message, it was meant for us, a deliberate hello. But what if we have misunderstood its purpose entirely? What if the wow signal was not a greeting card, but a warning beacon or a status update meant for someone else? To understand this, we must consider the scale of cosmic time. Our solar system does not sit still in the galaxy. It orbits the galactic core roughly every 225 million years. On this grand journey, it also bobs up and down through the galactic plane, a cycle that takes about 60 million years. Some scientists have noted a curious correlation that these periods when our solar system passes through the denser midplane of the galaxy seem to coincide with increased comet activity and even mass extinction events on Earth. The hypothesis is that gravitational disturbances in these crowded regions could dislodge comets from the distant Oort cloud, sending them on a deadly plunge toward the inner solar system. But there is another, more subtle effect. The galactic plane is also rich with interstellar magnetic fields and cosmic rays. As our solar system navigates this thicker galactic soup, the heliosphere, the magnetic bubble created by our own sun, could be compressed. This, in turn, might influence the sun's activity and potentially even affect the stability of planetary magnetic fields, including Earth's. Could a galactic cycle be a trigger for a magnetic reversal? It is a profound and unsettling idea. Now, place an advanced civilization into this picture, a species that has mastered not only interstellar travel but also long-term cosmic forecasting. They would understand these grand galactic clocks, the rhythmic pulses of energy and danger that sweep through the spiral arms every few tens of millions of years. Their concern might not be for a single species on a single planet, but for the integrity of biospheres themselves, rare and precious gardens of life in a vast sterile desert. From this perspective, the wow signal takes on a new potential meaning. Its brief, powerful nature suggests a targeted broadcast, not a continuous beacon. Its location in Sagittarius is along the direction of the galactic center, the heart of the galactic plane we periodically cross. Could it have been a marker, a kind of cosmic buoy left in the stellar currents, a signal meant to be detected by any emerging technological civilization, not to say hello, but to alert them to a timetable? The message might not be in the signal's content, but in its very timing and direction. It could be saying, pay attention to this region of space, for this is where the galactic tide turns. The 72-second duration could correlate to some astronomical cycle we have yet to decipher. If this seems like speculative fiction, consider our own actions. We have sent physical plaques and golden records into the void, hoping another civilization might one day find them. A more advanced culture might plant automated, repeating signals at key galactic coordinates, signals that activate when sensors detect a star system with a living, magnetically active planet entering a hazardous zone. The signal is not for conversation, it is a flare, a blinking light on a cosmic map saying, dangerous crossing ahead. This reframes our entire search for extraterrestrial intelligence. We have been listening for a message. We might have instead intercepted a warning label, a single, enigmatic line from a manual for maintaining a planet. The wow signal faded, leaving only a question mark. But if it was a marker for a galactic event that influences planetary cores, then the increased activity in our skies today might not be a coincidence. It could mean the clock it was set to is now ticking down, and the watchers have come to see how the garden fares. Earth's magnetic story is not unique in our solar family. Our neighboring worlds hold silent testimonies to the same cosmic drama of magnetic birth and death. Look at Mars, the red planet that now lies cold and barren. Orbital probes have detected remnant magnetic fields locked in its ancient southern highlands, fossilized stripes in the crust that tell a tale of a lost golden age. Billions of years ago, Mars likely had a churning molten core and a robust global magnetic field, much like Earth's today. That shield protected a thicker atmosphere and possibly even rivers and lakes on its surface. But then something happened. The smaller planet cooled rapidly, its core solidified, and its planetary dynamo sputtered out. With its magnetic shield gone, the solar wind began its relentless work, stripping away the atmosphere molecule by molecule over eons, leaving the desolate landscape we see today. This is not just Martian history, it is a potential preview of a distant future for Earth, a demonstration of what happens when a planet's fiery heart grows cold and its protective bubble pops. Venus presents another puzzle. It is Earth's twin in size, yet it has no global magnetic field. Scientists believe its core may be partially molten, but it lacks the vigorous convection and rotation needed to generate a planetary-scale dynamo. Without that shield, Venus suffers a hellish greenhouse effect, its surface hot enough to melt lead. The contrast is stark, 3 rocky worlds with 3 different magnetic destinies, one dead, one dormant, and one dynamically alive. This raises a profound question. Is the cycle of magnetic field generation and collapse a standard phase in the life of a rocky planet, a kind of planetary adolescence that determines its ultimate fate? For a world to sustain a biosphere over billions of years, it seems this churning metallic heart is not a luxury, it is an absolute necessity. The magnetic field is the guardian that allows the atmosphere, the climate, and the chemistry of life to persist. If this cycle is a common feature across the cosmos, then a civilization that has watched the stars for millions of years would recognize the pattern. They would know the signs of a young, magnetically active world, and they would also recognize the telltale flickering that signals a coming transition or a slow decline. From their vantage point, our solar system would be a living museum of planetary evolution. They would see Mars as a cautionary tombstone, a world that failed the magnetic test. They would see Venus as a warning of a runaway greenhouse, a planet that never developed the right internal engine. And they would see Earth, a vibrant blue gem, currently in the precious and potentially unstable phase of dynamic magnetic life. This perspective transforms our current instability from a local event into a cosmic milestone. We are not just a planet undergoing a shift, we are a planet performing a critical, galaxy-wide experiment in biosphere sustainability, one that has succeeded on only a single world in our immediate vicinity. An ancient interstellar culture, one that values life or perhaps the raw energy of planetary dynamos, would have a deep interest in documenting this process. They might have monitors stationed throughout our solar system, not to watch us, but to watch our planet's vital signs, to record the data from a living world's core as it navigates the treacherous waters of a magnetic reversal. The increased activity in our skies could be the equivalent of researchers gathering around a rare specimen that is about to undergo a metamorphosis. They are here because the event itself is significant, a data point in a grand cosmic study of how worlds live, change, and sometimes die. Their presence asks us to see our own planet not as a solitary stage for human drama, but as a participant in a much older, much larger story written in magnetism and fire. The magnetic dance of our planet may be part of a far larger choreography. A handful of researchers, like the pioneering computer scientist and astronomer Jacques Vallée, have long proposed a radical framework for understanding the phenomena in our skies. Vallée suggests the UFO or UAP phenomenon does not represent visitors in the classic sense, but rather functions as a control system. Its purpose is not to invade or communicate directly, but to influence, to steer human belief systems and societal development through a sustained campaign of paradoxical, elusive encounters. The objects and their occupants change form across cultures and eras, appearing as airships, Foo Fighters, or sleek triangles, as fairies, angels, or grey aliens, always reflecting the imagery of the time. The effect is not to deliver a clear message, but to provoke a reaction, to implant certain ideas into the collective human psyche, guiding our technological and spiritual evolution from the shadows. It is a thermostat for consciousness, turning the heat of our curiosity up or down to maintain a desired trajectory. But what if this control system operates on more than just our mind? What if its ultimate target is not humanity, but the living planet we call home? Extend Vallée's hypothesis to a planetary scale. Imagine this phenomenon as a control system for Earth itself, a subtle, ancient mechanism designed to manage the biosphere. Its tools would not be limited to strange lights and close encounters. Its most powerful instruments could be the geophysical forces we consider purely natural. Through technologies we cannot perceive, this system might apply delicate pressures to the tectonic plates, introduce minute energy fluctuations into the molten core, or even modulate the solar radiation reaching our atmosphere. The goal would be planetary stewardship on a geological timescale, using calculated nudges to maintain equilibrium or to initiate necessary change. From this vantage point, the cyclical pole shift is not a random geological hiccup. It is a programmed reset, a major update in the system's code. When a civilization or an entire planetary ecology reaches a certain threshold of complexity, instability, or perhaps technological danger, the control system initiates a magnetic reversal. The ensuing chaos is not an accident, it is a function. The weakened shield allows a pulse of cosmic radiation to sweep the planet. This radiation could act as a mutagen, accelerating biological evolution and forcing genetic innovation. It could collapse overdeveloped, unsustainable technological infrastructures, preventing a species from becoming a galactic hazard or destroying its own world. It could trigger climate shifts and sea level changes that break up stagnant supercontinents, fostering biodiversity and new evolutionary pathways. The great floods and fires of myth are not punishments, they are the system rebooting. The increased UAP activity we see today, clustered at fault lines and magnetic anomalies, would then be the equivalent of technicians gathering around a control panel. The flickering field is a signal that a major planetary cycle is nearing completion. The system is activating, preparing to administer the next phase of its long-term maintenance program. The objects are not just observing the instability, they are monitoring the parameters of the impending reset, ensuring it proceeds within the desired tolerances. Our civilization, with its global networks and climate-altering power, may represent a new kind of stress on the planetary system, triggering a response protocol we are only beginning to witness. This idea transforms our place in the cosmos utterly. We are not the masters of this world, nor are we merely its inhabitants. We are a process running within a vast, ancient machine, a machine that occasionally recalibrates its own hardware to ensure the experiment of life continues. The control system does not care about our governments or our wars. It cares about the health of the garden, and sometimes to save the garden, the gardener must prune it back to the roots. The idea of a cosmic control system is a breathtaking leap of imagination, but it crashes headlong into the bedrock of scientific skepticism. For every mind opened by these possibilities, a dozen scientists demand to see the proof. And their pushback is not a dismissal born of closed-mindedness, but a rigorous defense of the very method that built our modern world. The central argument is devastatingly simple: where is the incontrovertible evidence? A blurry video, a grainy photograph, or even a radar track, no matter how compelling, is not the same as a physical artifact. Where is the alloy we cannot replicate, the material with isotopic ratios unknown to our solar system, or the unambiguous artifact left for us to find? The scientific principle of Occam's razor, that the simplest explanation is usually the correct one, cuts deeply here. A light in the sky is far more likely to be a weather balloon, a plasma phenomenon, or a secret military project than a spacecraft from another star. The burden of proof, they argue, rests squarely on those making the extraordinary claim, and claims do not get more extraordinary than the suggestion that alien intelligences are managing our planet's core. This skepticism extends powerfully to the heart of our magnetic mystery. Geophysicists have spent decades building sophisticated computer models of Earth's dynamo. These models, fed with data from satellites and ground observatories, can successfully simulate the field's wandering poles, its gradual weakening, and even its full reversals, all through the natural, chaotic churning of molten iron. There is no need to invoke an external engineer. The planet's own internal heat engine, interacting with its rotation and the slow cooling of its core, provides a completely sufficient explanation. The Lachamp excursion, while dramatic, fits within the spectrum of this natural variability, a testament to the core's inherent turbulence, not proof of an outside trigger. To suggest otherwise, critics say, is to commit a classic logical fallacy, conflating correlation with causation. Just because UAP sightings cluster near fault lines does not mean the objects cause the quakes or are studying them, any more than a flock of seagulls over a landfill causes the trash to be there. Both are drawn to a source of energy, one biological, the other possibly technological, but that correlation reveals nothing about intent or origin. Furthermore, the leap from observed phenomena to a grand narrative of planetary stewardship is seen as a bridge too far, built on speculation rather than data. The human mind is a pattern recognition engine wired to find stories and agents behind events. This trait helped our ancestors survive predators, but it can also lead us to see design in randomness, to perceive a guiding hand in the blind forces of geology. The ancient flood myths, while hauntingly similar, are more credibly explained by shared human experiences with catastrophic local floods as ice ages ended and sea levels rose dramatically. The frozen mammoths could have been trapped in sudden mudslides or falling through thin ice, their last meals preserved by the very permafrost that makes such discoveries possible. To interpret these as evidence of alien intervention is to bypass a mountain of terrestrial explanations for a speculative grain of cosmic sand. The scientific community urges a hard discipline to follow the evidence where it leads, not where our hopes or fears want it to go. They remind us that a universe governed by natural law is already profoundly mysterious and wondrous enough. The gap between speculation and proof is a chasm we are only beginning to bridge with tools. To move beyond ancient myths and modern sightings, we must design experiments that can test the very edges of our reality. Our first challenge is to understand the engine itself. While we cannot send a probe into the molten outer core, we are getting closer. Ambitious scientific projects aim to touch the boundaries of this hidden realm. Consider the Japanese deep-sea drilling vessel Chikyu. Its mission is to drill through the oceanic crust to reach the mantle, the rocky layer that cradles the fiery core. This is not a journey to the center of the Earth, but it is the deepest direct exploration of our planet's interior ever attempted. By retrieving pristine samples from the mantle core boundary, scientists hope to read the chemical and thermal history of our planet's engine, to understand the fuel that drives the dynamo. On land, super-deep drilling projects in Russia and Germany have already revealed surprising facts, like the discovery of flowing water and microbial life miles beneath the surface, hinting at a far more dynamic and interconnected subsurface world than we ever imagined. From above, a new generation of satellites is transforming our view. The European Space Agency's Swarm mission is a trio of identical spacecraft flying in precise formation. They are mapping Earth's magnetic field with unprecedented detail, tracing not just its large-scale shape, but its minute fluctuations and whispers. This data is like a live electrocardiogram of the planet, allowing scientists to model the turbulent flows in the core with greater accuracy than ever before. These are not tools to find alien engineers, they are tools to understand the natural system. Yet, their findings could reveal anomalies that defy natural explanation, a magnetic pulse with no internal cause, or a pattern of heat flow that suggests an unnatural structure. To search for an external hand, we must look for different clues entirely for what astronomers call technosignatures. These are signs of technology, not life. In the cosmic search, this often means looking for artificial radio signals or the light of vast structures around distant stars. But applied to our own planet, the search becomes an archaeological dig through deep time and deep rock. Could there be physical artifacts, monitoring devices left behind from a visit thousands or millions of years ago? The geological record itself is the ultimate archive. If a non-human intelligence had a long-term interest in Earth, they might have placed passive observers in stable geological formations. These would not be flying saucers, but durable, self-sustaining probes, perhaps powered by geothermal heat or radioactive decay, designed to record data on magnetic field strength, seismic activity, or atmospheric composition across eons. Finding one would be the discovery of the millennium, but it is like searching for a single, specific grain of sand on every beach on Earth. A more promising and equally staggering place to look is our own moon. The lunar surface is a pristine museum, untouched by erosion or plate tectonics. Any object that landed there 100,000 years ago would remain in near-perfect preservation, resting on the dust where it settled. Proposals exist for systematic orbital surveys of the moon, using high-resolution cameras and spectrometers to scan for anything that reflects light or emits heat in an unnatural way. The far side, permanently shielded from Earth's radio chatter, would be an ideal location for a silent, long-term monitoring post. Perhaps the greatest technosignature of all, however, would not be a physical object but a pattern in the data. If the wobbles and flips of our magnetic field over millions of years were found to correlate not just with slow galactic cycles, but with mathematically precise intervals or encoded information, it would suggest the dynamo itself was being tuned. It is a staggering thought that the very heartbeat of our planet could carry a message, a signature woven into the fabric of its most fundamental force. We are not yet capable of such an analysis, but the quest to understand our core is inadvertently the first step in that search. By listening ever more closely to the deep hum of our world, we might one day hear an echo that is not our own. The very fabric of our reality might be woven from invisible threads of force. Beyond the physics of molten cores and flickering shields lies a more intimate frontier, the human mind itself. Our brains are not isolated command centers, they are delicate electrochemical organs, exquisitely sensitive to their environment. And a growing body of research suggests that Earth's magnetic field is not just a shield for our bodies, but a subtle conductor for our consciousness. Geomagnetic storms, those solar tantrums that rattle our magnetosphere, have been statistically linked to changes in human psychology. Studies show slight but measurable increases in reports of anxiety, sleep disturbances, and even hospital admissions for certain mood disorders during periods of high geomagnetic activity. It is as if a tremor in the planetary field sends a sympathetic shiver through our own neural networks. On a more profound level, certain animals, like birds and turtles, possess magnetite crystals in their brains, biological compass needles that let them navigate the globe. While humans lack this in a strong, organized form, trace amounts of magnetite have been found in our brain tissue. The question is haunting: if a pigeon can sense the field to find its way home, what subtle influences might that same field have on the vast, uncharted landscape of human thought and perception? Could a stable, strong magnetic field act as a kind of grounding wire for consciousness, helping to maintain a consensus reality? And if that field weakens and fractures during a reversal, could it, in effect, loosen our grip on the shared world we perceive? This is where the mystery takes a deep, introspective turn. Imagine for a moment that the magnetic shift does not just let in more cosmic radiation, but also alters the very tuning of our mind. A destabilized global field might create local pockets of unusual magnetic flux, places where the brain's normal processing receives static interference. In such an environment, could the mind begin to project its own inner contents onto the external world? Visions, sensations, or a pervasive feeling of the uncanny might arise not from external spacecraft, but from a brain struggling to interpret its own scrambled signals against a chaotic magnetic backdrop. The ancient stories of gods and spirits appearing during times of great upheaval could be read in this light, not as literal visitations, but as collective psychic events, mass hallucinations born from a planet-wide neurological stress test. The blurring is complete. A person standing in a geomagnetic anomaly might see a strange light in the sky, a genuine plasma phenomenon ignited by the altered field. Their brain, simultaneously affected by that same field, processes the sight through a lens of heightened suggestibility and awe, interpreting it not as a natural oddity, but as a structured craft with profound intent. The event is both objective and subjective, a real external phenomenon filtered through a perceptually altered mind. This does not dismiss all sightings as hallucinations, but it introduces a powerful complicating factor. It suggests that during a magnetic transition, the line between what is out there and what is in here becomes dangerously thin. Our quest for external visitors might in part be a conversation with our own evolving consciousness, triggered by the planet's roaring core. Are we witnessing an invasion, or are we, for the first time, peering into the depths of our own perception, stirred awake by a changing world? The compass in your pocket begins its slow betrayal within a decade. At first, the shift is subtle, a few degrees off true north that only surveyors and pilots notice, forcing quiet updates to aviation charts and mapping software. But the drift accelerates. Within 20 years, ordinary smartphone navigation starts to glitch in unpredictable ways, its digital compass struggling to reconcile with a wandering magnetic pole. Satellite networks feel the strain first. Orbital decay rates increase as the weakened magnetic field allows the upper atmosphere to expand, creating more drag. Communications satellites experience escalating electronic failures from radiation damage, leading to sporadic global blackouts in internet and GPS service. The initial public reaction is one of frustration, blaming corporate greed and aging infrastructure. Then the first major solar storm of the new era hits. It is not a Carrington-level event, but with our shield at 70% strength, it is devastating enough. Continent-scale power grids experience cascading failures. Major cities in northern latitudes are plunged into darkness for weeks. The economic shock is immediate and global, triggering a new kind of recession, a geomagnetic depression. By mid-century, the new reality solidifies. The aurora is no longer a rare polar spectacle but a common global occurrence, shimmering green and red over cities like Paris and Beijing, a beautiful but ominous sign of our thinning defenses. Air travel is radically altered. Polar routes are abandoned due to dangerous radiation levels for passengers and crew. Transcontinental flights are forced onto longer, fuel-inefficient equatorial paths, making global travel slower and vastly more expensive. The world's technological foundation reverts to a more hardened, analog state. Critical infrastructure is buried and shielded at enormous cost. A new global industry emerges in electromagnetic pulse hardening and radiation-resistant electronics. Nations with territory near the equator, where the magnetic field remains strongest the longest, find themselves in a position of sudden strategic advantage. Geopolitical tensions spike over access to these so-called magnetic safe zones. The concept of climate refugees is joined by a new category, magnetic refugees, as populations begin a slow, pressured migration away from the most radiation-affected high latitudes. This is when the sky truly becomes strange. As the field weakens to 40%, reports of unidentified aerial phenomena do not just increase, they become a daily global constant. They are seen by millions, not just by pilots or sailors, but over suburban neighborhoods and farmland, often clustered near the failing power grids and communication hubs they seem to disrupt further. The objects appear to thrive in the chaotic magnetic environment. Governments already struggling with the planetary crisis are overwhelmed. Official explanations collapse under the weight of video evidence and credible witness testimony from scientists and military personnel. A visceral public panic sets in, fueled by a terrifying question: are these objects causing the poles shift, or are they here because of it? Conspiracy theories fracture global consensus. Some believe the phenomena are a hostile force exploiting our weakness. Others become convinced they are ancient caretakers attempting a desperate repair. Society splits into warring camps of belief, undermining coordinated global response efforts. The final decades of the century see a planet transformed. With the magnetic field a tangled mess of multiple weak poles, global satellite navigation is a memory. Long-distance communication relies on hardened fiber optics and low-frequency radio. A permanent, low-grade radiation haze increases background cancer rates and forces the widespread adoption of protective lifestyles. Yet, humanity adapts as it always has. A monumental, cooperative scientific race born of sheer necessity focuses on understanding the core. Deep Earth sensing projects become the new space race, with international teams deploying seismic arrays and quantum magnetometers in a frantic effort to model the dynamo's next move. The mystery in the skies becomes a central variable in every equation. Are they a source of data we cannot access, or a wild card destabilizing all our models? The world lives under a double veil, a fading magnetic shield and a curtain of profound uncertainty, waiting to see if the poles will finally settle into their new homes, or if the lights in the sky will finally reveal their purpose in our planet's long, turbulent life. A world under dual pressure has two paths forward, and both are etched into our history. Faced with a failing planetary shield and an inexplicable presence in the skies, the human instinct for survival would collide violently with our capacity for fear. The initial reaction would likely be a fleeting, powerful unity. A massive solar storm that blacks out continents would not care about national borders or political ideologies. The shared experience of darkness, of crippled hospitals and silent communication networks could forge a temporary global solidarity. International scientific collaborations like the Deep Earth sensing projects would become the most critical diplomatic channels, with data shared as a currency more valuable than gold. For a moment, we would see ourselves not as nations, but as a crew on a single, stricken vessel, all hands needed to man the pumps. This unity, however, is fragile, built on a foundation of sheer, immediate necessity. As the crisis stretches from an event into a new normal, that foundation would crack. The true fracture line would not be drawn between countries, but between worldviews. The central, unanswerable question, are they here to help or are they here to harvest, would become the great schism of the 21st century. Imagine two neighboring towns. In one, a community builds hardened shelters and rallies around local scientists trying to predict the next magnetic tremor. They view the objects in the sky as a dangerous environmental variable, like a new type of lightning, to be monitored and shielded against. In the other town, a different group gathers. They have studied the patterns, the ancient myths, and the consistent lack of overt hostility. They become convinced the phenomena are ancient guardians, here to guide us through the shift or to perform a necessary planetary correction. To them, the government's attempts to harden infrastructure are not just futile but blasphemous, interfering with a sacred cosmic process. When the next powerful aurora fills the sky, the first group sees a radiation warning. The second sees a celestial signal. These are not reconcilable perspectives. They are fundamental articles of faith. This is where governments and media face their ultimate test of credibility. Official channels already struggling to manage the geophysical disaster would be paralyzed by the UAP issue. A policy of total transparency would risk triggering mass panic or religious fervor. A policy of strict denial and secrecy, however, would be instantly bankrupt. Too many citizens, from airline pilots to farmers, would have their own high-quality evidence. The resulting vacuum of official truth would be filled by a torrent of misinformation and charismatic figures. Social media algorithms designed to engage would amplify the most extreme narratives, creating impenetrable echo chambers. One feed shows grainy videos of objects near volcanoes with captions about planetary engineering. Another feed shows the same videos with warnings of an imminent invasion. Neither can be proven false, and both feel terrifyingly true. The role of science communication would become a battlefield. Mainstream geophysicists, armed with their dynamo models, would plead for focus on the natural planetary process. A small but vocal faction of scientists, perhaps those studying the electromagnetic effects of the sightings, might break ranks, calling for a paradigm shift that includes the phenomenon as an active variable. The public, already distrustful after years of crisis, would not know which expert to believe. When a scientist says a coming magnetic fluctuation is natural, a skeptic would ask, how can you be sure it is not being induced? This question is unanswerable with our current tools, and that very uncertainty becomes a weapon. The societal split would manifest in dangerous, practical ways. What if a group, believing the objects are benevolent, actively sabotages a crucial power grid hardening project, seeing it as an affront to our cosmic helpers? What if a government, convinced the phenomena are hostile, launches a military strike at a UAP cluster, triggering an unpredictable and potentially catastrophic response? The crisis would no longer be just planetary. It would be a civil war of human interpretation, fought with both keyboards and real-world interference. In this unprecedented scenario, our greatest vulnerability would not be the weakening magnetic field, but the fragmentation of our shared reality. The ultimate test for our species may not be surviving the pole shift, but maintaining enough collective sanity and cooperation to navigate it while staring into a mystery that reflects our deepest hopes and fears back at us. The magnetic whispers from our core and the silent lights in our skies present us with a choice far deeper than any scientific debate. We stand at a crossroads of cosmic interpretation, forced to decide between two profoundly different visions of reality. The first vision is one of immense, ancient purpose. In this universe, planets like Earth are not accidents. They are rare, living engines, and their magnetic fields are vital signs monitored by intelligences who understand stellar and galactic cycles on a scale we cannot grasp. The increased activity in our atmosphere is not a visitation, but a maintenance check. The pole shift is not a random disaster. It is a scheduled, necessary recalibration of a planetary system, perhaps to purge a technological civilization that has grown unstable, or to stimulate a new phase of biological evolution. The myths are not fantasies. They are fragmented instruction manuals from the last time the gardeners came to prune the tree. This is a universe of stewardship where we are not alone, but neither are we in control. We are the cherished, or perhaps simply the interesting, inhabitants of a managed preserve. The alternative vision is one of beautiful, terrifying solitude. In this universe, the churning of our core and the wandering of our poles are blind geology, the result of chaotic fluid dynamics in a sphere of molten metal. The lights are misidentified natural phenomena, secret human technology, or the misfiring of our own pattern-seeking brains under a stressed magnetic environment. The correlation is an illusion, a classic example of apophenia where the human mind, desperate for meaning, draws a line between two unrelated dots on a vast canvas of mystery. We are truly on our own. The galaxy is silent not because it is empty, but because it is indifferent. The coming shift is a natural trial we must face with only our own ingenuity and cooperation, with no help coming from the stars. This is the ultimate weight of the mystery. If the first vision is true, our anxiety about the future is misplaced. A greater intelligence may have protocols for this very transition, and our role is to witness, to adapt, and perhaps to learn. If the second vision is true, the full, terrifying responsibility for our survival rests entirely on our shoulders. There is no cosmic safety net. Our fate hinges on whether we can set aside our divisions and solve a planetary-scale physics problem before our technological civilization is scrambled by the sun. Both answers are haunting. One offers companionship but strips us of agency, suggesting we are passengers on a ship whose course was plotted long ago. The other grants us total freedom but abandons us to a cold, uncaring cosmos, where a single solar storm at the wrong moment could end our epoch. Perhaps the truth lies in a third, more subtle space. Maybe the phenomenon, whatever its origin, acts as a mirror. In a stable magnetic field, we see only our own reflection. But as the field weakens and our reality becomes more fluid, the mirror begins to show us what we most fear and what we most desire, projected onto the blank screen of a mysterious sky. The ultimate purpose, then, may not be out there at all, but within us, waiting to be revealed by the failing of our ancient, silent shield. Our path forward requires both hardened science and open minds. The most immediate, practical step is to champion the silent guardians of our understanding, the geomagnetic research programs. Missions like the European Space Agency's Swarm constellation are giving us a live map of our fading shield, but we need more eyes in the sky and more ears to the ground. Funding for planetary defense must expand beyond tracking asteroids to include monitoring the sun's fury and modeling our own planet's internal chaos. This is not an abstract scientific luxury, it is a global insurance policy. We need a next-generation network of satellites specifically designed to forecast space weather with the accuracy we now expect for hurricanes. On Earth, we must invest in deep Earth sensing arrays, a global web of quantum magnetometers and seismic monitors to listen to the core's whispers before they become roars. This data is the foundation upon which we can harden our power grids, protect our satellites, and perhaps one day learn to predict the dynamo's next great turn. Alongside this technological shield, we must forge a mental one. The coming decades will be ripe with explanation, from the mundane to the miraculous. Cultivating a disciplined, critical mind is your personal defense against the coming storm of misinformation. When you encounter a breathtaking video or a grand narrative that connects pole shifts to ancient aliens, pause. Ask the simple, powerful questions. What is the source? What evidence is presented and what is merely asserted? Could there be a more ordinary explanation? This is not about cynicism, but about intellectual resilience. It is the practice of holding wonder in one hand and scrutiny in the other, allowing them to balance. In an age where reality itself may feel fluid, this balance becomes our anchor. Finally, let this mystery change your gaze. Step outside on a clear night and look up, not with fear, but with a profound question. Those points of light are other suns around which other worlds may turn. Could one of them be home to the watchers? Then feel the solid ground beneath your feet. Remember that it is not so solid that a sea of fire churns thousands of miles below, an engine that breathes a protective force field into the void. This realization is a form of awakening. You are living on a planet that is alive, dynamic, and mysterious. You are witnessing in real time a chapter in its billion-year story. That story is now intertwined with our own technological adolescence and our deep human need to find our place in the cosmos. The future is not written. It will be shaped by the questions we dare to ask, the data we choose to gather, and the stories we decide to believe. From the churning sea of molten iron at our planet's heart to the silent, structured lights tracing its geological scars, we have followed a trail of magnetic whispers. This journey reveals a world far stranger than we often admit. Our magnetic field is not a static shield, but a living, breathing pulse, one currently showing the erratic rhythms that have preceded flips in the deep past. At the same time, objects of unknown origin demonstrate a persistent, perplexing fascination with the very zones where that field is weakest and the ground is most unstable. The connection is compelling, even if it remains unproven. It suggests that the greatest story of our time may not be happening in our cities or our politics, but in the hidden furnace below and the enigmatic skies above. A story where planetary geology and cosmic mystery might be two chapters of the same book. Our planet is alive, dynamic, and full of secrets. Whether those secrets are purely natural or touched by other intelligences, one thing is clear: we are living on the most mysterious spaceship in the universe. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and keep looking up and down. What do you think links these mysteries? Share your theories in the comments below, and subscribe for more deep dives into the wonders and enigmas of the cosmos.